ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिरा तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ इत्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम् न वेदश्रुतेः अस्तितो तत्र तावत् प्रतिपाद्यते। तत्र प्रथमं तावत् आकाशमाश्रित्य चिन्त्यते। किम् आकाशस्य उत्पत्तिः अस्ति उत नास्ति इति। To begin with now is begun deliberation upon akasha, the space, whether there is utpatti, the creation of space or not. Tatra tavat pratipadyate. With reference to that, this is what has been presented here. Na vyat ashrutehe na khalu akasham utpadyate. So, the Ekadeshi who wants to establish a Pramanyam of the Upanishad by resolving contradiction has his position that vyat akash nakhalu akasham utpadyate. The space is not created. Kasmat, for what reason? Niyasya utpatti prakarane shranam asti. That whenever Upanishads talk about the creation, they do not talk about the creation of space. That is why we say that space is not created. Chhandogya hi sadeva samya idamagrasit ekamevatviti sat shabdavacham brahma prakritya. Then in Chhandogya Upanishad, when it talks about this is the Utpatti Prakaranam. In Chhandogya Upanishad, when there is this topic of the Utpatti or the creation, then this is what the Upanishad says, Sadeva Somme Idamagrasit. This universe was Sat before its creation. Tat Tejaha Asvijata. That Sadar Brahman created fire. इति पंचानाम महाभूतानाम मध्यमम तेजम आदिम कृत्वा. Thus Chhandogya Upanishad presents Teja or fire as the very first element. Trayanam Tejo Bandhanam Utpatti Shravyate. And only the creation of three elements is what is said by the Shruti of fire, water and earth. Shrutisya na pramanam. So somebody said, Can you not establish the creation of space by inference? Even if Chhandogya does not say that specifically, says no, inference is not the pramanam, Shruti is the pramanam. अतीन्द्रियार्थ विज्ञानोत्पत्तौ न चत्र श्रुति अस्ति आकाशोत्पत्ति प्रतिपादने अत्र आकाशोत्पत्ति प्रतिपादने श्रुति नास्ति. We do not find any Shruti statement which expounds or propounds the creation of space. तस्मात् नास्ति आकाशस्य उत्पत्तिः. Therefore, the space is not created. Understand that the purpose of saying this is not so much whether space is created or not, mainly to show that there is no contradiction among different Shrutis, that's all. That basically Chhandogya does not mention the creation of space and Taittiriya starts with creation of space. That both the Shrutis are saying the same thing. This is what this person wants to say. Only if both the Shrutis are saying the same thing, then there is Ekavakyata, then they have one common theme to convey. In which case, there is consistency or samanvaya. In which case, Shruti becomes pramanam. Otherwise, Shruti will become pramanam if there is the internal contradiction. So here is a person who is trying to resolve that internal contradiction. In this way, by saying that or by trying to establish that the space is not created. Utpatti Shruti, everybody knows that Taittiriya Upanishad does talk about creation of space, and still this person says, why? Utpatti Shruti Mukhya Nasti iti Gura Visandehi. The opinion or the thought in his mind is that in fact, that Taittiriya Shruti is not to be taken in the primary sense, should be taken in the secondary sense. Before we can come to that position, here a Purva Paksha is raised to what this person said, Astitu, Tu Shabdaha Pakshantara Parigrahe. Then how do you say that? There is no mention of creation in the Upanishad, Astitu. Indeed, there is the mention of creation of space in Upanishad. Ma nama akashasya Chhandogya bhut utpatti. So you are basing your argument on the Chhandogya Upanishad, and that does not mention the creation of space. They may be so. Shrutyantare tu asti. However, another Shruti, namely Taittiriya Upanishad, there is definitely the mention of creation of space. Who says it? The person who wants to establish that Upanishad is not pramanam. So here is the person who wants to show that there is contradiction among the statements of Upanishad. The previous person wanted to resolve that, this person wants to establish that there is contradiction. तैत्तिरीय का ही समामनन्ति सत्यम ज्ञानमनंतम ब्रह्म इति प्रकृत्या. So Taittiriya Upanishad says Satyam Jnanamanantam Brahma Tasmadva Etasmad Atmana Akasha Sambhutah. From that Brahman, this is that which is that Atma, from that this space emerged, space was created. Sambhutah. Iti. Tatasya Shrutyo Vipratishedah. Therefore, Vipratishedah. There is this internal contradiction, self-contradiction among the Shruti itself. Kvachit Tejas Pramukha Srushti Kvachit Akasa Pramukha iti. Look, there is a contradiction here in the Shruti because somewhere the first element that is created is fire, as in Chhandogya. Elsewhere, the first element is space, as in Taittiriya Upanishad. So there is this contradiction. So we say, okay, we can resolve that contradiction. No, ekavakyata anayoho shrutyoho yukta. So we tell him that rather than accepting this contradiction, why don't you come up with a way of interpreting so that both the Shrutis are consistent? Why don't you interpret that way? Why do you choose to interpret a contradiction? Satyam. So the first attempt should be to find the samanvaya, find the consistency. Only when you cannot find consistency, that you would accept that there is inconsistency. Satyam, he says you are right that we should find consistency. Satu yukta, natu sa yukta, satu yukta, natu sa avagantum shakyate. So, sa yukta, natu avagantum sa yukta, that's true. Satu na avagantum shakyate. But we do not find how we can reconcile between these statements of Shruti and find ekavakyata or a common subject. Kutah, why? Tat tejah asrujata iti sakarshrutasya srashtuhu srashtavyadvayena sambandha anupatte tat tejah asrujata tat akasham asrujata iti. One Upanishad says Brahman created space, other Upanishad says Brahman first created fire. So therefore, how can you say that both are the same? Sakrashutasya, the creator is mentioned once. So how can the creator create two things? Can only create one thing. The tat teja asrujata, tat akasham asrujata, he created fire, he created space also. One creator cannot do two things at a time. One can do one thing at a time. So either the creator has created space or the creator has created fire. But then one creator cannot do two things simultaneously. Nanu sakrashutasyapi kartuhu kartavyadvayena sambandha drishyate. Says the same creator cannot do two things simultaneously, but the same creator can do two things in sequence. Yatha supam paktva odaram pachaditi. Just as a cook, having cooked the curry, then he proceeds to cook rice. So then one creator can be associated with creation of two things if you accept the creation in sequence. Evam tat akasham srishtva tat teja asrujata iti yojayishyami. In that case, we can say that he first created space and then created fire. So that way you can reconcile and there is no contradiction between the Shrutis. Why do not interpret this way? Why don't you do that? Na evam yujyate, that is not tenable. Prathamajatvam hi Chhandogya tejasa avagamyate. Look, in Chhandogya Upanishad, the tejas or fire is the first element that is created. So fire has the prathamyam, it has the primacy. The first element is fire. Taittiriya ke akashasya, whereas in Taittiriya Upanishad, the space is created first. So you tell me which one is created first? Nichu ubhayoho prathamajatvam sambhavati. So even if you say that the creator created space and then created fire, but one Shruti says the space is first and fire is first. Two things cannot be first. Because one creator also cannot create two things first. So say it, why not? So why not like a seed having two halves in that and then two stems can come, simultaneously. Similarly also, why not the fire and space came out simultaneously? But then, if you look at the Taittiriya Upanishad, Vayo Agnihi, Taittiriya says that the fire is created from Vayu, not from Brahman. So if you say that fire is created from Brahman, then that will contradict that one. Going this page 500, going to Ratnaprabha on the second line. छांदोग्य श्रुते तित्तरी श्रुति श्रुति विरुद्धार्थम उक्त्वा तित्तरी श्रुते तद विरुद्धार्थत्वमाह. So how Chhandogya is opposed to Taittiriya? Because Chhandogya mentions the fire as first, Taittiriya mentions space as first. Similarly, Taittiriya also contradicts Chhandogya. Etena. So Vashyakara says in the first line, in the Bhashya, Etena itara श्रुत्यक्षर विरोधोपि व्याख्यातः. So thus, when we show the contradiction between Chhandogya and Taittiriya, automatically there is contradiction between Taittiriya and Chhandogya also. Etat padarthamaha. So, which one are you talking about? So himself says, Tasmadvaiti, next one says, Tasmadva etasmat atmanah akashas sambhutah iti atrapi tasmad akashas sambhutah तस्मात् तेजः सम्भूतम् इति सकृश्रुतस्य अपादानस्य सम्भवनस्य च वियत्तेजोभ्याम् युगपत् सम्बन्ध अनुपपत्तेः. So tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhutah. This Taittiriya Shruti contradicts the Chhandogya Shruti. Iti atrapi tasmad akasha sambhutah. Now see, tasmad is the fifth case, is called apadana panchami. So tasmad akasha sambhutah and tasmad teja sambhutam. Okay. From the same Brahman, the fire is created. Iti sakrushutasya apadanasya sambhavanasya cha vyatejobhyam yugapat sambandha anupattehe. The apadanam tasmad, the fifth case can be once. Sambhavanam, the creation also is mentioned once. So apadana cannot be more than once. Sambhavana also cannot be more than once. Therefore, Vyatejobhyam yugapat sambhavanasya cha Vyatejobhyam yugapat sambandha anupattehe. So simultaneously, the apadanam and sambhavanam cannot be connected with Vyat as well as Teja. So tasmat akasha sambhuta. Then you cannot say tasmat teja sambhutam because apadana is one and sambhavana also is one. Therefore, one apadanam and one sambhavam cannot be connected with two. Sri Ratnaprabha Chhandogyepi Shrutam Tejasa Prathamyam Atra Duryojyam Ityartha. And if we accept the creation of space, then the Prathamyam, that the Teja is created first also cannot be related to that, can reconcile with that. then says, Ratnavra, Kincha Sat Padartha Atma Chhandogye Tejasa Upadanam Shruyate Atratu Vayuhviti Naikavakyada Ityaha. Furthermore, Sat Padartha Atma means what? The word Sat, which means Atma. Sadeva Somya Chhandogya mentions Sat, which also means same as Atma mentioned by Taittiriya Upanishad. So that much we accept. Chhandogye Tejasa Upadanam Shruyate. That Sat created Tejaha. So that is the Upadanam. So Sat becomes Upadanam, material cause from which the Tejas is created. Atratu Vayu in Taittiriya Upanishad, Vayoho Agnihi. Vayu is the Upadana Karana of Agni. Iti Naika Vakya. Therefore, so two problems are there. One is Prathamyam. In Taittiriya Upanishad, the Prathamyam, the first is space. In Chhandogya, it is Tejaha. Second, that Vayu, the Agni, according to Chhandogya, is created from Sat, whereas according to Taittiriya, Agni is created from Vayu. Therefore, Naika Vakyata. So, Vayo iti. So, Bhashyakara says, Vayo Ragnihi iti cha prasakam nanad. So it says Vayu Agnihi. Agni is the product of Vayu. Therefore also there is no reconciliation between these two Shrutis. So the argument started by saying that space is not created and therefore everything is okay. This person Astitu says no, that definitely is a passage which says that space is created. So, first fellow wanted to resolve the contradiction, second person points out the contradiction. Therefore, the Shrutis are contradicting each other. So, what do we do? So, Ratnaprabha says, Evam Shrutyoho Virodad Apramanyamiri Purva Pakshe Prapte. So, Purva Pakshe is what? Shrutyoho Virodad Apramanyam. Because the Shruti statements say different things about the creation and therefore there is no consistency in them. There is the internal contradiction. Therefore, Shruti, as far as the creation is concerned, the Shruti is not Pramanam. Iti Purva Pakshe Prapte Seva Vyat Anutpattivadi Swamatena Pramanyam Brute. So Ekadeshi comes back. One who said, Na Vyat Ashrute, so Vyat Anutpattivadi, who says that the space is not created, he comes back to answer this fellow. Swamatena Pramanyam Brute. Now, his Gudha Visandhi, when he says space is not created, whatever in his mind now comes out. That yes, I know that the Taittiriya Upanishad mentions the creation of space, but that is to be taken in a secondary sense, not primary sense. Bhashyakara says, Asmin Vipradishedhe Kaschidaha. Asmin Vipradishedhe. Thus, when there is Vipradishedha, the contradiction between the Shrutis, Kaschidaha, somebody says that somebody is the same fellow as the Ekadeshi. Gauni Asambhavar. Gauni Akashotpatti Shruti Gauni Nato Mukhya. So wants to say that Tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhutah. That statement is taken not in primary sense, to be taken in the secondary sense. then there is no problem. Why so? Asambhavat. So Gauni is a pratigna. Asambhavat is the hetu. Akashotpattau samavaya karanadi samagri abhavat. Asambhavat. There is no possibility of space being created because the samagri, the material that is required for creation of space is not there. So how can space be created? Vibhutvena nityatva anumanachya, and also because space is all pervasive, therefore it is not limited in space, therefore not limited in time also, and therefore is uncreated. So two reasons will be given. Akashotpatte asambhavat. So now the argument is made differently. How do we interpret the statement of Taittiriya Upanishad? Even though Upanishad says from Brahman, that is Atma, space is created, the argument is that there is no possibility of creation of space because the necessary materials that are required for creating space are not there. And secondly, space being all pervasive, not limited in space, is also not limited in time, therefore it is eternal, therefore also it is not created. And therefore we say that this creation of the space mentioned by Taittiriya Upanishad is to be taken in a secondary sense, not in the primary sense. That is Gauni. Now there is no contradiction. If there are two primary statements, then the contradiction. But one primary statement or the secondary statement, that is no contradiction. So that's how this person, the same Ekadeshi, wants to resolve the contradiction between the Shrutis. Look at Ratnaprabha. Evam a adhyaya samaptehe adhikaraneshu. We are here told what is the trend of argument in the subsequent adhikaranas also. The kind of trend that is followed here, the same trend of argument is going to be followed in the subsequent adhikaranas in the next in the two padas. Evam adhyaya samaptehe, until the conclusion of the second chapter, meaning the third and the fourth quarters. Adhikaraneshu prathamam virodhat shudya pramanyamidi purva paksha phalam. Everywhere the purva paksha will point out the vipratisheda, the contradictions obtaining between the Shrutis and saying that Shruti is not pramana. Iti purva paksha phalam tatah ekadeshi siddhantah. Thereafter the ekadeshi will also try to prove the pramanya of the Shruti. Paschat mukhya siddhante. We don't accept the ekadeshi's method of establishing. We like that Ekadeshi shows the consistency and proves the pramanyam, but the method that he does is not acceptable, therefore we do it in our own way. Paschat mukhya siddhante shrutinam avirodhena ekavakyataya brahmani samanvaya siddhi. Then Siddhanti shows that the Shrutis are consistent. Ekavakyata. And therefore, ekavakyataya, the Siddhanti wants to establish that all the statements of Shruti have consistency, and therefore the entire set of Upanishad, Vedanta has consistency, and therefore all the Vedantas have only one subject matter, which is Brahman. So Brahmani Samanvaya Siddhiti Phalam. Everybody has something in mind when they make an argument. So Siddhanti wants to establish that all the Shrutis are consistent and therefore Brahman is the one subject matter of all the Shrutis. That is what the Samanvaya is. Iti phalam kramascha. Everywhere we will encounter this krama. The Purvapaksha, Ekadeshi and Siddhanta. Ratnavara continues, Tatra Shrutyoho Virode Sati Adhyana Vidhi Upattayoho Apramanya Ayogat. Shrutyoho Virode Sati. Now Chhandogya and the Taittiriya, between these two Shrutis, there is a Virodha. Adhyana Vidhi Upattayo Apramanya Ayogat. But they are all part of Vedas. It says Swadhyaya Adhyetavya. One should study one's own branch of Veda. That shows that Veda is Pramanam. Therefore, it cannot be that any statement of Veda is not Pramanam. So Apramanya Ayogat. So Taittiriya also must be Pramanam, Chhandogya also must be Pramanam, and therefore even the Purvapakshi says that they are not Pramanam because there is contradiction, but we can't accept that because the entire Veda is Pramanam. Therefore, what do? Vyat Utpatti Asambhava Rupa Tarka Anugrahita Chhandogya Shruti Mukhyartha. So now, Ekadeshi makes argument that Chhandogya Shruti is Mukhya and Taittiriya Shruti is Gauning. Why? Tarka. Because Vyat Utpatti Asambhava. Asambhavat. Because the creation of the space is not possible. Because the necessary conditions required for creation of space, they do not exist, and therefore creation of space is impossible. Therefore, Taittiriya Shruti is Gauni, is in a secondary sense, and Chhandogya is in the primary sense. Itara Gauneti Avirodha, therefore there is no Virodha. Between primary and secondary there is no Virodha. Iti Ekadeshamatam Vivranoti. So this Gauniya Sambhavat also is a statement by the Ekadeshi. Then Bhashyakara explains Nasti Ityadina. Nasti Vyataha Utpattihi Ashrutehe Eva. Comes back. Nasti Vyataha Utpattihi Ashrutehe Eva. So Vyat Ashrutehe, same thing he says. No, Shruti does not propound the creation of space. Even though it says so, it does not really mean it. What is meant Gauni is, even though Taittiriya Upanishad says that space was created from self, they do not mean it. The purpose is different. The purpose of their statement is not to expound the creation of space. Purpose is something else. Therefore, this statement is to be interpreted in a secondary sense. Ashrutehi, therefore, there is no primary Shruti delineating the creation of space. Says the Nyaya Tudutpatti Shruteya api Dashdatvat Vipatishede Kas Samadhihiti. We say, wait a minute, we just told you that Taittiriya talks about the Utpatti of Akasha. So there is a contradiction. How do you just make a statement there is no contradiction? On what basis do you say that? So says Yatu, Bhashyakara says, Yatu itara vyadutpattivadini Shruti udahruta sa gauni bhavitumarhati. Yatu itara. So Taittiriya Shruti is called itara. The Chhandogya Shruti is the first one, that other one is called itara. Yatu itara. Vyadutpattivadini Shruti udahruta. He says to Purvapakshi that the Vedutpattivadini Shruti that expounds, delineates the Utpatti, the creation of Veda space, that you have presented is an example, quoted, Sa Gauni Bhavitamarhati. That must be Gauni, meaning in a secondary sense, not in the primary sense. Then says Nyayandinina, Teja prasamya anurodhena akasha utpatti prasamya cheti dvayavadanam ayuktam. Akasha prasamya anurodhena teja prasamya se vadani manvana chodayati. So he says, wait a minute. Teja prasamya anurodhena akasha utpatti prasamya cheti. So, when you insist that the Teja, the Chhandogya is right, that means the fire is created first. Then you are presenting, there are two contradictions. You are denying the Prathamyam, the firstness of the Akasha, and also you are also denying the Utpatti of the Akasha. You are denying the Utpatti of Akasha, and by accepting the Teja as the first one, you are denying the firstness of Akasha also. The Dvayabhadanam ayuktam. If you accept Chhandogya as primary, then you are thus negating these two aspects, creation of space and the Prathamyam, the primacy of the space. Therefore, Akasha Prathamyam. So why don't you say that Taittiriya is Mukhya and Chhandogya is Gauni? Why don't you say that? See, he says that Chhandogya is Mukhya, Taittiriya is Gauna. Chhandogya is Mukhya, then what happens? That means space is not created, which Chandogya doesn't mention space. So you are denying the creation of space. And Chhandogya means the fire as first, so you are denying the firstness of the space also. So two things are to deny. On the other hand, if you say that the Taittiriya is first, primary, and Chhandogya is secondary, then only one thing has to be denied. Tejasi Prathamyasya Bhadanam, because Teja is created both ways, so that is not denied. Only the firstness of Tejas is denied. So it is better that you accept the Taittiriya as primary and Chhandogya as secondary. Why not? Iti Manvana Chodayati says, Kasmat. So why don't you do it this way? Then the answer is given. Navayam Tejah Prathamyam Anurundanaha Dvayavadam Shishmaha. So nicely they write, in Sanskrit. Navayam Tejah Pratham Anurundanaha Dvayavadam Shishya. Says, no, we do not have interest in establishing that fire is created first. And that way, we want to deny the firstness of space and creation. It's not from that standpoint. Kintu mananta virodhat, we are saying that the Taittiriya is secondary because the creation of space is contradicted by other pramanam. What the Kannada says, what the Vaisheshikas say about how creation can take place, this creation of space contradicts that. It's called Manantar Virodha. Pramanantar Virodha. So Taittiriya contradicts other Pramanam. That is why it is to be taken in a secondary sense. So the answer is given in Bhashya, Asambhavad. So on what basis you say that Akash, that Shruti is Gauni? Asambhavad, because the creation of space is not possible. Then says Nyaya Nirnay, Vaisheshik adhikaranena tanmatasya nirastatvat tadavastambhena katham asambhavam. But you are now saying this, what Taittiriya says contradicts what Vaisheshika say. So Vaisheshika are already dismissed earlier. Why do you bring them again? The Vaisheshika are already dismissed. So why do you take their opinion to dismiss the Shruti? Says Nahi iti, so Bhashyakara says, Nahi akasasya utpattihi sambhavayitum shakya Shrimat Karnabhug Abhipraya Anusarishu Jivatsu. As long as those fellows are alive, Karnabhug Abhipraya Anusarishu. Karnabhug means Kanada, who is the founder of the Vaisheshika philosophy. As long as the followers of there is no Vaisheshika there, so long you cannot ever make a statement that space was created, because you have to answer them. So you cannot simply make a statement and get away with it. You have to prove it. The politicians can do anything, they can just, in election time, they can make any kind of statement and get away with it. But that's not right. Whenever you make a statement, you must have a logical basis behind that. Even Shruti also cannot say something that contradicts the facts. As Shankaracharya says, even if Vedas say 100 times that fire is cold, we cannot accept it because that statement fire is cold contradicts the real, our practical experience. Similarly, even if the Upanishad says Akasha was created, we cannot accept it if creation of Akasha is not possible. Kanabhug Abhiprayama Pragatati. Okay. So what do the Kanadas have to say? It's called Kanada or Kanabhug. Kanada. So Kanam Atti. The person who is only eating the grains, la unchivrutti. So he would pick up the grains after the harvest is done, whatever is left over in the fields, or he will go to the marketplace where the grains are sold, and whatever has fallen down, that is what he will pick up, and he will sustain himself from that. That's one of the accepted ways of tapasya, unchivrutti. So what do they say? Bhashyakara says, Tehi karana samagri asambhavat akashasya utpattim varayanti. Tehi, so Vaisheshika say that space is eternal. Why? Because they find that the conditions required for creation of space, they are not available. For, as they will say, for any event to happen, necessary conditions must be there, otherwise an event cannot happen. So that is why whether something happened or not, did this person commit suicide or not? Is it a homicide or a suicide? Sometimes there is a question whether the person is murdered or person committed suicide. Some people claim committed suicide. Are there conditions obtaining for suicide? Or he committed murder. Are there conditions for committing? So that event can be established only when necessary conditions exist. What are the intentions? What is the history? Similarly also, for the space to be created, some necessary, it's an event. for which necessary conditions are there, and the Vaisheshikas claim that the necessary samagri or necessary material required for creation of space are not available. Therefore, space cannot be created. So it must be uncreated. It must be eternal. Solved by Anumanam. Tehi Karana Samagri Asambhavat Akashasya Utpattim Varayanti. They set aside the creation of space because of the absence of samagri, the material required for creation. Say Ratna Prabha, Akashah no utpadyate samagri shunyatvat atmavat. So this is the Anumanam. The Vaisheshikas, when they say that space is not created, on what basis? On the basis of Anumanam. Akasha na utpadyate samagri shunyatvat. Akasha is not created because the samagri required for creation is not there. Atmata, just as for creation of Atma, there is no samagri, therefore Atma cannot be created. Similarly also, space is not created. Then Ratnavara continues, Nacha avidya brahmano satvat hetu asiddhi. Why do you say samagri is not there? For creation of space, Brahman is there and ignorance is there. So why not? Space is creation of ignorance. So Brahman and ignorance, samagri is there. Why can't space be created? So satvat hetu asiddhi. Do not say that because Brahman and avidya is there is enough samagri. No, that cannot be samagri for creation of space. Why? Vijatiyatvena. Samagri must be what? Sajatiya. Meaning that clay and pot must be sajatiya. Then alone pot can be created from clay. So also, if space is to be created by ignorance, then sajatiyatva must be there. That is not there. So vijatiyatvena anayoho arambhagatva, and then also Brahman and avidya are not sajatiya. So they cannot combine. If you say that from combination of Brahman and avidya space is created, Brahman and avidya cannot combine because vijatiya. Sajatiya means two things of the same class can combine. Two things of different class cannot combine. Like you can combine the wheat, flour with water because of the same class. But you cannot mix wheat with space, for example, because not of the same class. Anayoho arambhagatva ayogat asanyuktatvacha, and also there comes sanyoga. So it means conjunction or the union between the avidya and Brahman, because vijatiya, they cannot actually be joined with each other, combine or with each other, therefore they cannot form the samagri for creation of space. Ratnavara continues, Sanyoga eva hi dravyasya asamvaya karanam. So says the Bhashya, Samavaye asamavaye nimitta karanebhyo hi kila sarvam utpadyamanam samutpadyate. Samvaye, asamvaye, nimitta karanebhya. We generally talk about two karana, the upadana karana and nimitta karana. They talk about the samvaye karana is upadana karana, nimitta karana, asamvaye karana. Asamvaya means, see, upadana, samvaya karana means that which is inherent or intimate. For example, the clay is the samvaya karanam for pot because the clay is the inherent in pot. Therefore, it is samvaya karanam. How about the pot maker? He is the nimitta karanam, the efficient cause. But they say that you require a third karanam also. When can you make a pot from the clay? Only when the elements of clay, the particles of clay can join with each other, then only you can make it. You cannot make a pot from sand, for example. You cannot make a pot from sand. Why? Because the sand particles cannot join with each other. Whereas clay particles can join. That called sanyoga. So therefore, this sanyoga, the joining of the different particles of clay is also required for creation of pot or for creation of, for example, cloth. Cloth is created from threads. The threads must be able to join with each other, then alone it is possible. You cannot take steel wire and make cloth out of that because that steel wire cannot join with each other. Here the warp and woof, they all join with each other. That is how the cloth is possible. So not only do you require material, not only do you require the creator, you also require that the material should be such that there should be sanyoga between the different aspects of the material, different elements of material. इसको असमवाय कारण यथा तंतु संयोग पटस्य. For the pata or the cloth, you require tantu, which is the samvaya karanam. You require the weaver, which is the nimitta karanam. Also includes all the other things, the potter's wheel, etc. They are all part of nimitta karanam. And then you require also the tantu sanyoga. So, samvaya, asamvaya, nimitta karanebhyo kila saram utpadyamanam samutpadyate. So they are very intelligent people. So they say that utpadyamanam, whatever is created only when these three causes are there: samvaya inherent, asamvaya non-inherent, and nimitta. Nimitta means instrumental cause. For creating a pot, you require the pot maker, potter's wheel. You require that stick. All these are called nimitta karana. See here, samavaye nimitta karanebhyo hi paraprasiddhi dyotana to hi shabda hai. He means that is what the Vaisheshika say. Tatra swa anabhyavagam darshayadum kila. He then kila. Kila says we don't accept inside, we don't accept it. But this is what they say, Then all right, akashasyapi tari trini karanani bhavishyanti, fine. For Akasha or the space also, why not we say that the three causes are there, samavai, asamavai, nimitta. For space also these three are there, so space is created. Ita Ashankya says no, samavai karana vishesha swarupaha. How should samavai, how the upadana karana should be? Not from any material, anything can be created. Something can be created only when the material cause also possesses some specific properties. So, samavai karana vishesha swarupam. The material cause also must possess some properties, then only creation is possible. And what is it? Dravyasya. Bhashyakara says, Dravyasya cha ekajatiyakam anekam cha dravyam samavai karanam bhavati. What can become material cause? Dravya must be of one type, one class, and many in number. So, for example, for making cloth, you require the thread, yarn. But one yarn is not enough, you require number of them. So first of all, the first condition for the samvaya karanam or material cause is that eka jati ekam. All of these elements or avayavas must be of the same kind, meaning the same kind of thread or yarn should be there. At the same time, anekam, not one yarn, but then you require many yarns to create the cloth. So eka jati ekam, anekam cha. Dravyam arambakam asti. That kind of dravya, for them you want to make anything, like chapati. So you require wheat flour, but not one grain of that flour. You require only all the same grains and number of them. Then only they can combine with each other to become chapati. The idea is that the upadana karanam must always be, we must have internal, it must be always an aggregate of a number of components. And those components must be able to join with each other. Like a lump of clay is an aggregate of a number of particles of clay. And those particles must be able to join with each other. Similarly also, for the cloth is made up of these threads. There must be a thread of the same class, same time, a number of threads must be there which can join with each other to form the cloth. So what? Then Nacha Bhashyakara says further, Nacha Akashasya Ekajatiyakam Anekam cha Dravyam Arambakam asti Yasmin Samvaya Karane sati Asamvaya Karane cha Tat Sanyoge Akashaha Utpadyeta. Akasha, you tell us, what is the material for Akasha? Please tell us. He is asking us. Nacha Akashasya Eka Jati Ekam Anekam ja Dravyam. So what is the Dravya? What is the material from which Akasha is made? That material must be the same class and must have a number of members, those which combine each other, and then Akasha can be created. Please tell us what is that material, what is made up of? So that one material and many in number must be there. We don't find that in case of space. For others, atoms are there. As far as they are concerned, for Vayu, for Agni, for Apaha, for Prithvi, atoms are there. Those atoms form the material, and atoms are such that they combine with each other. Therefore, the union of two atoms is called Dvanuk, and three Dvanuk become one Tranuk. And that's how the build-up takes place. So Anu becomes a primary building block, but then these Anus or atoms can combine with each other. Otherwise also creation is not possible. The space doesn't have those kind of atoms, and therefore, where is the material? So Yasmin Samvaya Karane Sati, when that kind of material is there, Asamvaya Karane cha Tat Sanyoge. And then Sanyoga is Asamvaya Karanam. Akash Utpadyeta, we do not find any material which makes up the space, and therefore creation of space is not possible. This is what the Kannada say. Samvaya Karanyaste sati, Samvaya Karanirastam. When Samvaya Karanam is not there, when the threads are not there, the Sanyoga of threads cannot be there. So when atoms are not there, the Sanyoga of atoms also cannot be there. Karanadvai nirasena nimitta karana nirasanam sukaram. When these two karanas are not there, where is the question of nimitta karanam? So says Bhashya, तदभावात्तु तदनुग्रह प्रवृत्तम निमित्त कारणम दूरापेतम एव आकाशस्य भवति तदभावात्तु. When samvaya karanam is not there, a samvaya karanam is not there, then the question of nimitta karanam, a creator, and the wheel, in this case, for cloth, you require the, what do you call it, so for that you require, the machines, for in order to create them. Where is the question of those kind of things? So tadabhavattu tadanugraha pravrittam nimitta karanam. Now, what is nimitta karanam according to Vaisheshikas? Ishvara is the nimitta karanam. So Ishvara anugraha. Ishvara decides that let these atoms combine with each other and make Dvanuk and Tranuk, and therefore, according to the Vaisheshikas, ultimately Ishvara is a nimitta karanam. See, for the scientists, the atoms may combine all right, but for them, the matter itself makes the natural selection and the evolution takes place. But according to all the Vedic thinkers, the creation takes place because of the anugraha, the grace of Ishvara, the sankalpa of Ishvara. So tadabhavattu. So therefore, when the material is not there, then anugraha, upon which the anugraha of Ishvara is done, how can Ishvara or nimitta karanam also be there? So tad anugraha pravrittam nimitta karanam. Or you can say that even nimitta karanam also requires anugraha upadana karanam. The pot maker also requires the anugraha of clay and the combination of clay. Then only pot maker can create the pot. So when those three are not there, where is the question of a creator who can create? Durapetameva akashasya bhavati. So that is far-fetched removed. So that's what is Ratnaprabha said, Sanyoga eva hi dravyasya asamvaya karanam. So sanyoga, the joining or union between the different elements of material cause is the asamvaya karanam. Atah samavai asamvayanoho abhavat na hetu asiddhi. Therefore, asambhavat is a hetu because cause is not there, therefore hetu siddhi is there. So this is one reason. One reason is that there is no material or conditions which are required for creation of space, those conditions are not there. Then going to page 501, says Ratnaprabha, pragabhava shunyatvacha atmat akasha na utpadyate pragabhava shunyatvat. See, for creation of something, you require pragabhava. What is pragabhava? The non-existence before creation. When can pot be created? When the pot did not exist before its creation. It comes into existence as a result of creation. So pot can be created because pot did not exist before its creation. That's called pragabhava. So pragabhava also is required for creation. But in pragabhava abhavat or pragabhava shunyatvat. In case of space, the pragabhava is not there, the prior non-existence is not there, therefore also the creation is not possible. So says Bhashya in the page 501. Utpattimatam cha tejah pravritinam पूर्वोत्तर कालयोः विशेषः संभाव्यते प्रागुत्पत्तेः प्रकाशादि कार्यं न बभूव पश्चाच्च भवतीति. technical things there, but anyway, it's a nice analysis so that we understand the thinking and we understand how actually creations take place. Because even though we talk of the Vivarta Karan, but then when it comes to any creation of Vyavahara, all of this discussion is very applicable because this discussion applies to all the Vyavaharic creation. So, Utpatti Matam cha Tejas Prabhutinam. We accept that the fire is created, water is created, earth is created, and all subsequent combinations are created for all of them. Purvottar Kalayoho Vishesha Sambhavyate. There must be some difference before and after, then alone you can call it creation. The creation brings about a difference in something, then alone it's creation. For example, Pragutpatte Prakashadi Karyam Na Bahuva. For example, take the case of fire. What does fire do? Fire burns and fire illumines. So before fire was created, and sun also is fire. So before fire was created, there was darkness. And now the fire is created, there is light. Then you know that the fire is created. So before the rise of sun, there was darkness. Now the sun has risen, there is light. So you can say that sun has risen. So when can you say that there is beginning of sunrise? When before the beginning a certain condition existed, and after beginning a different condition exists, then you can say that there is a beginning here. So sun rises, you say, because before the sunrise there was darkness, after the sunrise there is light. So that Vishesha, the changes happen. So as far as the fire is concerned, definitely you can say that there was no light before fire creation, then light came, therefore fire is created. So therefore fire has what we call prior non-existence, means fire did not exist before its creation, therefore there was darkness, and then the fire came into being, then there is light. So that change has happened, that shows that fire has a beginning. So anything that is created must have a beginning. What is beginning? Beginning means that it did not exist before that moment and it comes into existence at that moment. That's called beginning. So whatever is created must have a beginning, but the space does not have a beginning like that. Therefore, space cannot be created. Says prakashascha prakasha chakshusha anubhava. What is prakasha? What is light? That which is experienced by eyes is called light, you know. What is light? That which is experienced by eyes is called light. So when fire was not there, eyes could not experience anything. When the fire came into being, eyes were able to experience. So therefore we say the light is there, so fire is the beginning. Adipadat tamodvamsa pakayo grahanam. So when the fire comes into being, tamodvamsa, the darkness is dispelled. Paka, also you can cook. So before the fire, cooking was not possible. After the fire, cooking. Now you see, when do you know? Sometimes you know the gas flame is so fine. Sometimes it's colorless. You can't even see the gas flame because it is colorless sometimes. But you know that gas is there because water has started boiling. So before that, boiling was not there. Now the boiling is there, therefore the fire is there. So sometimes fire doesn't have light, but then it cooks, it burns. So tamodvamsa, when light is there, then darkness is dispelled. Otherwise, pakayoho, cooking, when cold is there, heat comes, then cooking takes place. So then these are the signs that fire is now there, and therefore because these signs are there, therefore we can say that the fire has a beginning, therefore fire can be created, but similar situation does not exist with reference to space. That's what the Bhashya says. Akashasya punaha na पूर्वोत्तर कालयोः विशेषः संभावयितुं शक्यते. आकाशस्य पुनः, however, with reference to आकाश, पूर्वोत्तर कालयो विशेष संभावयितुं न शक्यते. That space was not there, therefore a certain condition existed. Now space is there, therefore a different condition exists that you cannot say with reference to space. There is no change. Why? Say Ratnaprabha, Murta Dravya Ashayatwami Akashasya Karyam. What does space do? Avakasha Pradatru Akasham. That which accommodates is called space. So that which gives space, accommodates is called space. So Murta Dravyasya Ashrayatvam. The space actually accommodates all tangible or solid matters, like tables and chairs are called Murta Dravya, all materials that have a form. So space accommodates things which have form. Tacha Pralayapya asti. In Pralaya also the space is there because in Pralaya also things have to be accommodated. So even if atoms are remaining there, they also have to be accommodated. Therefore, even in Pralaya or dissolution also, space must be there to accommodate the cause. When the creation takes place, space is there to accommodate the effect. Before that, the space must be there to accommodate the cause. Tacha pralepyasti paramanu ashrayatvat. They say that the pralaya also is not totally destruction, but then all the universe resolved into paramanu, into atoms. So the atoms must be accommodated, and there is space which accommodates atom. Therefore, the aspect of accommodation existed before, aspect of accommodation exists now. Therefore, there is no change. Therefore, space has no beginning. अतः न प्रागः इत्यर्थः. प्रागभाव असत्वं स्फुटयति. Clarifies here how there is the absence of prior non-existence. Kim hi iti. किम ही प्रागुत्पत्तेः अनवकाशम असुशिरम अच्छिद्रम बभूव इति शक्यते अध्यवसातुम. So Vaisheshikas accept that the space exists even in the time of pralaya. There is no pralaya of space. Kimi, because pragutpatte, before the universe is created, anavakasham, asushiram, achidram, kimi babhuva iti. Tell us, what is before the creation, utpatti, anavakasham, that which does not give akasha, the room, asushiram, that doesn't have a cavity, achidram, does not have a small cavity. Sushira is a bigger hole and Chidra is small cavity. So, Babhuva, can you say, is it possible to say that before the creation that there was no holes, no cavities, nothing to give accommodation? How can you say that? So what is this anavakasham asushiram? Say Ratnaprabha, Sthulashraya avakasha. What is called avakasha? That which is ashraya, that which supports or accommodates the gross things is called akasha, avakasha. Sukshmashrayam, sukshmashraya chidram. What is a chidra? So sushiram, chidram. Chidra means a small little cavity. So what is that? That which accommodates the sukshma or subtle things, fine things. Anvashraya Sushiramiti, and that which accommodates Anu is called Sushiram. Sushiram also is Chidram only, but anyway, so this difference is made here. That when the universe is created, all these tangible things are there, that which accommodates, that accommodates called Avakasha. Then all of them reduce into something subtle. So that is called Chidram. All of them reduce into Anu. That is called the Sushiram. Because if space was not there, who can accommodate? So now also space is there, therefore it accommodates the solid things. Then the space was there that accommodated subtle things. Then space was there that accommodated the atoms. But then accommodation is always required, therefore space is always there. So there is no beginning of space, therefore there is no creation of space. So second reason. First is there is no asambhavat. Creation of space is impossible. Number one, samagri is not there. Number two, the pragabhava is not there. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.